Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. We are in conversation with Zaretta Hammond. We are so excited about our conversation today, which is going to touch on culturally responsive teaching and learning recovery. So welcome, Zaretta. I'm joined today with my colleagues, Joyce Highhouse and Nicodemus Ford. We are so honored to have Zaretta Hammond with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'll lead us off with the first question, which is one of the things your book addresses so clearly is common misconceptions about culturally responsive teaching. And so can you talk a little bit about why all educators should understand culturally responsive teaching if we want students to be successful in school?
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start. One of the things I try to help educators do is to really understand the ways in which we kind of use it interchangeably with multicultural education, social justice education, and those aren't necessarily interchangeable. So culturally responsive teaching, as Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings talks about it, and she coined the term, really is about helping students who have been marginalized historically reclaim that academic prowess. So the reality is when we look at our data, and so much of that data has Black and Brown children at the bottom chronically, year in and year out, we really need to be able to accelerate their learning. So culturally responsive teaching, when you truly understand the science of learning behind it, is a vehicle for that acceleration. Our misconception is this is around diversity and inclusion, which just has a social dimension, or social justice, which just has kind of the student's consciousness about the context around them. But neither one of those two really address how to build students' learning muscles. So more than just motivation, this is really about application of the science of learning that uses students' funds of knowledge as cognitive hooks to make learning stickier.
Um, and, we still have so much work to do around those other areas, Zaretta, like around multicultural teaching and around DEI and inclusion. And I wonder if you see those things as happening sort of side by side, or how do those ideas intersect or connect?
Well, I think the reality is we put too much emphasis on diversity and inclusion, in the sense that it's not that they're not important, but they're not a matter of side by side. When you understand that culturally responsive teaching is about accelerating learning, and you understand the science of learning, then you understand that social emotional learning and development are a component of that cognition. So if the idea is to create environments where there's the diversity as an asset, and inclusion allows every student to come into the classroom and feel, that sense of belonging, then that's necessary, but it's not sufficient for learning. So when you start to try and reduce it to one or the other, beside or behind, that's problematic. This is actually an integrated algorithm. And when you understand what your core purpose is, right, to upend inequity by design, then the antidote to that is to be more responsive to who the student is, so you can build that academic prowess. In order to do that, we know children are whole people, so we need to have the social emotional component there. I talk about that as the learning partnership in the Ready for Rigor framework. So again, that classroom environment has to have a sense of